Hi, everyone. This is the Perspective with Viv podcast. My name is Viv, and welcome to the show. Today's title is Magnificent Mysteries with Philip Mountrose. So, Philip and Jane Mountrose are holistic spiritual coaches, energy healers, energy healing pioneers, and authors of numerous books, including their new book, Awakening to Your Magnificence, Your Journey into the Next New Frontier for Humanity. The mission of Awakenings Institute, their non-profit organization, is to facilitate the unique gifts that each individual brings, receive, honor, and respect, where they are nurtured in allowing their gifts to blossom. So that's pretty amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, Philip. How are you
Great to
today?
be here. Thank you for inviting me, Viv.
I'm so excited to have our conversation. I especially love our title, Magnificent Mysteries. There's so much I want to know. So I'm going to dive into the first question. For those who are new to your work, how did your journey with spiritual transformation begin?
Well, in my 20s, I began to question why I'm here on Earth, and it took me on a spiritual journey. And I explored different psychologies and religions and different spiritual groups. I joined a Gurdjieff Svensky spiritual group in my 20s where I met my wife, Jane, and we realized, even though we learned a lot there, that there was much more to explore. And there were some limitations to being in a group with a leader where you had to follow a leader. But that took us more into spiritual healing, which was missing in the group, and energy healing, because you could be pursuing spiritual awareness. In other words, you can pursue being very kind and compassionate and loving, but have these parts of yourself that are hidden that need attention, that create all kinds of stress and tension and alienation, i.e., you need healing. And we learned hypnotherapy, NLP, other modalities. We were early adopters of EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping, and created our own innovative ways of doing that, along with spiritual kinesiology, a healing from the soul method, which has been foundational to our work connecting with the soul. Anyways, we started coaching and healing, training people with that, and that was very rewarding. We realized that was our life work. That was our wheelhouse. That was the channel we were meant to be in. Although my wife was an architect, I was an educator for many years traditionally. And when we became successful enough, we developed our own business, training people, individual sessions. We published a lot of works, as you mentioned, including our new book, Awakening to Your Magnificence. And just to end my kind of concluded, the latest chapter is this spiritual guide program that emerged when we started connecting, especially my wife, with Archangel Metatron through a healing session she had. And previously, we had done some channeling. We had used oracle cards decades ago, and just sort of in the background of the many things we explored. But now it became full front of having direct guidance, not only with our soul and teaching other people how to do that for healing and enlightenment, but to connect with higher beings like angels and ascended masters. And that was the genesis of our newest course, Spiritual Guide certification, that help people become their own spiritual guide and to help others with connecting with angels and oracle cards and other modalities.
Such a lovely answer to my question. There's so many layers. So I'm going to ask some follow-up questions. Number one, what was it like, communing or, tapping into communication with Archangel Metatron? I say that because what I've heard about him is that
Yes.
he's very advanced in some way. He's very spiritual. Can you explain more to me about him,
Right,
about the
yes, let's
angel
talk
and
about
the
Archangel
communion,
Metatron, who
please?
sometimes is called the celestial scribe, the scribe of God. So
Ooh.
he's also, for many people, a greeter in the Akashic Records, which is something else we train and help people heal. And the Akashic Records is the universal database. Scientists don't know really where memory is stored, and it's really just stored in this cloud, like a cloud, the Hall of Records. And famously, Edgar Cayce, a century ago, would go into a trance and get into people's past life soul histories. And you don't have to be Edgar Cayce. You can do it now. That's what we do regularly and help people do that. So you connect with your soul's history. And when you go to the Akashic Records, this universal database, really beyond time and space, that includes time and space, past, present, and potential futures, you may connect with Archangel Metatron there as a greeter and as a director, or you may have other record keepers, as they're called, there. So going back to Metatron, that's one aspect of him connecting with the Akashic Records, the universal database that we all have and that you can access when you know how to do it. And he has this vast wisdom, this vast love, like all the archangels do. And he seems to be able to direct people in very beautiful ways to their next step. And maybe one of the ways to share is just for me to channel a message right now with Archangel Metatron. Yeah, and that would be. So what is the question you have for him? And maybe because it will focus on that, because you wanted to
I
know more about him.
Yes, I wanted to know how to identify him, his qualities. I used to know, but I've forgotten. So honestly, any general message. I don't have a particular question.
Okay. Well,
Anything that
let
comes.
me, I think I have a sense of what you're asking about him describing more of who he is. Let's see what he says.
Okay. How exciting.
Hello, dear ones. We are always here with you. We are just at a different vibration coming from a different source in the universe. We are here for anyone and everyone who beseeches us, who connects with us, not only in the Akashic Records, but just directly. We are a loving presence directly from God, and we have a, you might say, a good ear to hear God's messages and whispers, metaphorically speaking. So we're very sensitive to the messages, the telegraphs, the language, the codes that are being sent out by the universe that relate directly to the person involved. And we can transmit that, transcribe that to you. And we transcribe that by connecting with the person's heart and reading that like a printout and just letting people know what their soul's history has to do and how it relates to their current situation. Thank you, Metatron. So that was a message for me directly to connect with him. And so when I go into my own records, I may ask messages with him. I might just be in his presence, in his loving presence, his guidance. So they're kind of qualities. The different archangels have different colors and different specialties, although they often overlap.
Thank you for sharing that with me. So, how do you help people tap into their unique genius? Can you tell us what you feel someone's unique genius is in general terms, and then how you help people to do that?
Yes, well, we all have our unique gifts and talents. Sometimes it's interesting the term of a gift, like you're given a gift. Where does that gift come from? Like if I can channel, if I can be a good healer in my own way, you can be a good podcaster. Where did those abilities come from? Well, they came from past experience and past lifetimes, yes. And originally they just came from us as a spark of God or creator, as our uniqueness with all the experience that has embroidered it and developed it over many lifetimes, so that those abilities can generate your uniqueness and our genius, because only you can express things with the talents you have the way you can, and the same with me and the same with everyone listening. So if you tap into that reservoir of what you're good at, what you can easily learn or want to learn, your exciting things going forward, your abilities, and combining that with your experience and your commitment and your love and your energy, that can spark your genius and spark what is authentically you, and which can contribute to other people and your soul's plan for this lifetime.
That's wonderful because I feel that, yes, sometimes when we discover gifts or things that we're drawn to, they have come from past lives. So there's an easier way to tap into it. For example, being able to read tarot cards. When I first started, it just felt like it was a call to do so. But
Mm-hmm.
then when I began, it was like I'd been doing it for years. Like it was like
Right.
lifetimes came back. And I'm like, of course, I'm Nigerian. This isn't part of my culture. So it's like, where did this come from? I was like, no, 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 this is from another time. And I'm just here downloading that information. So I totally get it. So when I heard you speak about unique genius, I got excited because every single person, from my perspective, has something that just is just so phenomenal that they can do that comes easily, or they learn and they become phenomenal at it. And they can use that to spread joy, spread healing, spread love, move people. So I like the way you explained it because that's how I feel as well. And when somebody taps into their unique genius, I truly see how their life transforms. I see how it elevates everybody around them, including them as the conduit. Do you agree?
I agree, and I like the way you expressed it. That was very articulate.
Thank you. My next question. So, you've written about both getting through to emotions and getting through to the soul. How are those two different and how do they work together?
Well, some of our previous works, getting through to your emotions, connected with EFT, emotional freedom techniques, the tapping technique, which many millions of people around the world have used because it's so effective and it balances your energy system. And we use what we call our getting through technique. So we help people pinpoint something and then do the EFT tapping. So to give you an example, like one of our holistic EFT techniques that we teach in our trainings and write about and so forth is um, called the holistic process, the different levels of an issue. Um, One lady I helped, she had a sore wrist, so the physical was a sore wrist. So I asked her what she was feeling emotionally, and that might be a strange question to someone. What do you mean emotionally? Breathe into that sore wrist. So she was feeling anxious, okay? And all this is unconscious, the things often the emotions, especially this next part. What do you believe about what is going on that's causing you to be anxious? What thoughts? That's a belief system. That's the other level, holistic. She said, I have to go out into the workplace and it's going to be very hard to get a job. So that was a belief. So, there may be some objective evidence to that of just the thing, but if you keep focusing on that, that becomes kind of a limiting belief, shall we say. And then the last part is your judgment, your evaluation. And most of us are taught not to feel this deep way, and it's an identity. And when we feel there's a problem, part of us, not our soul, feels like this lady was anxious that they're not good enough. It's a judgment, and this could be kind of surprising information to people that pretty much wherever you don't feel good about yourself, in other words, anxious, sad, angry, hurt, fearful, desperate, etc., there is some kind of shame involved of not feeling good enough if you get down to the usually unconscious. Now, the good reason to get down to it is, first of all, it's not your soul, and second, then you can heal it. It's much easier to address, shall we say. So once we found out that she didn't feel like she was good enough, we did some holistic EFT tapping 7 pressure points and then 2 other points. So what people would do, and if they can do this while they're listening, you could say, even though I have this issue, for her was, even though I don't feel good enough or I feel anxious, and you measure it between 1 and 10, how strong it is, 10 being strongest. Then you start doing the tapping. You tap the side or the heel of your hand underneath your little finger, like a karate chop, and you say aloud, and people listening can say it aloud about their issue. Even though I have this issue, I can still love and accept myself. Even though part of me has this issue, I can love and accept myself. And then there's 7 pressure points, like acupuncture, but not with needles, but with your finger. You're tapping the top of your head lightly, and you're saying release, and you're balancing your system now. And then your eyebrow, it looks a little strange, but either both sides of the eyebrow by the bridge of the nose, release, and then the side of the eye, release, and then under the eye, release, under the nose, release, the chin, tapping underneath the lower lip, release, and then the collarbone, the ridge on your collarbone, either both sides, release, and under the arm, release. And one of the last 2 things we call the reset process. You're balancing the energy system, tapping across the top of your head like good girl, good boy, balance left to right brain, releasing, and knowing that anything is possible, and you can open up to the field of pure potential while you're tapping the top of your head and breathing. And the last part is just tapping your heart, breathing, opening up to the field of pure potential. We like to say that, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. So you have these field of vast, infinite possibilities, and you breathe and you hang out. So after we did that, and it can happen very quickly, she was no longer anxious. She felt good about herself. Even her wrist felt better. And sometimes when it's physical, it's going to take more time because it's more dense in the energy field. So that's EFT tapping. We wrote about in Getting Through to Your Emotions with EFT, and we incorporate it in our coaching healing program and our spiritual guide program. And the other book, The Getting Through to Your Soul, had to do with healing from the soul. I mentioned that earlier. So as you connect with your soul, you can use that for guidance and healing, just like we connected with Metatron shortly. But first and foremost is really connecting with your soul. And doing this regularly can make a huge difference in the quality of your life. So how do you do that? How do you connect with your soul? Some people think it's very hard or obscure, but you feel a very soulful presence, say, if you watch a beautiful sunset or sunrise, right? Also, when you have this very intense, say, tragic experience, you might feel extremely present and soulful too. But basically, you can do it at any time because your soul is always there. So a way of connecting is, there's different ways that we write about and show each people, but let's just do this way today. So imagine yourself relaxing and breathing. And as you relax and breathe, you breathe in pure, clear energy throughout your whole body, taking back in yourself anything you've left behind, just breathing it in, gathering yourself, exhaling, releasing anything you picked up along the day that you no longer need. And as you become more and more relaxed, just imagine yourself lifting up to a beautiful summit or a mountain, a beautiful lofty place. and you may get a picture, you may get a sense of it, a feeling where you have everything is perfectly arranged, 360-degree, see from all sides. You feel the soulful presence being connected with everything and everyone from this beautiful lofty summit, mountaintop, wherever you are, just taking that in. And when you feel that soulful connection, you can also just, if you were before having an issue with some emotion, you can just ask your soulful self to help send you a resource. You can get a color or a message. I'm getting a message, healing and loving in this moment. That's my message. Yours might be different. As you do this, you may or may not get a message, but that's okay either way. Just feel the presence and know that you can be connected with this soulful place at any time. So when you're ready, you can come back down with your feet on the floor and opening your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, feeling grounded, alert, back where you are, safe, secure, refreshed. So that was a lot of information in about 5 minutes. Some people may want to go back and replay that because I sort of gave about an hour's information in 5 or 10 minutes there. Pretty condensed, but I hope it was clear enough to get a gist of it.
Super clear. Thank you so much for sharing. Two things. EFT, I'm getting into it. I literally had a podcast session where we spoke about tapping. So you doing it and you explaining the process once more was very interesting and grounding before we did this exercise. When we were doing the soul exercise, I saw myself on a mountain and I could see the sun shining, I could see greenery. And then you said, a message. I saw yellow as the color. And I took that message to be express more, shine more, show who you really are.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful, isn't it? Shining. I love your smile on your face. For the people who are lit, they can
Thank you.
probably hear your smile, shall we say, in that beautiful yellow beaming radiance
Yeah,
sunlight.
it was really, really nice.
And of course, we've done a lot of other works that have integrated more deeply the EFT tapping and the what we call spiritual kinesiology, the healing from the soul. So you go to that mystic mountaintop, and there's other ways of doing it. You connect with your soul, get guidance like you did, and I did, and probably a lot of the listeners did. And it's okay if you didn't. Just keep doing it and you will. And then you send that back down to sort of your hurt self, your fragmented part, your inner child, the part that feels anxious or sad or worried or whatever.
All right. Thank you for that. I also like that when I opened my eyes, I did feel grounded and more in my body. So that
Oh,
was a really
great.
nice feeling. Yeah, I could go on, but I have more questions. You did share about the field of pure potential. Can you unpack what that is and how everyday people can access it? I'm thinking when you say field of pure potential, are we talking about the quantum field or source energy?
Right. And different people have different ways of saying it. Some people say the quantum field, and since it goes beyond time and space, language at a certain point is limiting here. And there's the idea that there's the creator God and he emanates a universe from there. And then, we're part of that universe and we're creative because we're creators from God. So if you go to this field of pure potential, kind of God's canvas yourself, and you could go there with an intention, a focus, and that actually changes parts of your brain. Certain parts of your brain light up when you focus on something like the field of pure potential. It opens up regions of your brain that's sort of what's sometimes called your spiritual intelligence, or your brain's innate capacity for spirituality, connecting with the universe. So it's something we all have access to. We're all embedded in this vast universe, and there's something called subatomic, below atomic, where things are existing way beyond our conscious realm. Nonetheless, we can go there because we are part of it. We just have to put ourselves in sort of a different place, in a different state, a different modality. And we sometimes use the EFT tapping with that too. We combine that, and we have a demonstration. We have and I'll give the people a URL where they can get a free kit that shows demonstrations of it so they can see it done, and some amazing healing can be done. Because once you go to the field of pure potential with a focus, like you want to say heal something, like a person wanted to heal some of their bursitis, I help them with. It's on that video. I'm going to give you that link. Without an agenda, without knowing how it could be done, but taking a different blueprint, a different energy down with you so you can put that into your body so you're vibrating in a different place. You could use the EFT, and we write about this more in our new book, Awakening to Your Magnificence. You could use the EFT tapping like we did a moment ago and use the phrase, even though I have this issue, or even though I have this pain, or even though part of me has this problem, I now open up to the field of pure potential where anything is possible. So you say that, and you're tapping the heel of your hand again if you're using the EFT, and you have something you're focusing on. even though, and it's good to say it aloud, even though I have this issue, I now open up the field of pure potential where anything is possible. Even though I have this issue, I now open up the field of pure potential where anything is possible. And before, you might measure how strong the problem is before and after. Like if your pain is 5 right now, then you'll go to the field of pure potential and see if it changes afterwards. So then we do the tapping, saying we could do release, we could tap the top of the head, the eyebrow point, the side of the eyes, under the eyes, the nose. I'm going kind of quickly here. The chin, and it's fine to go a little slower. The collarbone, we're tapping those points under the arm. And you might just touch them or tap them. Either way works. And you breathe, and then tapping across the top of the head, that reset process again. And you're saying you're opening up the field of pure potential now. You're breathing. And then the last part, you tap across your heart, integrating this into your heart, where anything is possible now. Breathing. And now, if you focused on something, you go back and refocus. And then you can actually go up to that summit place that we did a moment ago, and then even ascend higher to a field of pure potential and just hang out there in a meditative state for a while and come back down and recheck. So that's some explanations of accessing this field, which is pretty miraculous, where things are happening at a completely different level than our conscious mind can conceive of.
That felt really good. And I feel for me, while we were doing the exercise, just even the fact that we said we're in the room where anything is possible, my whole aura felt more expansive, like willing to receive more information, willing to open up even more. Like my heart chakra was like, yes, give me more. Then when he said you can ascend more at the summit, I was like, ooh, are we communing with angels? I was like, oh, I feel like we're there. That was really good. I like that a lot. I really like that you're actually applying, giving us a lot of techniques as we ask these questions. I love that. So I'm going
Yeah,
to go into my next question. Your book speaks of the mysteries roadmap. Can you paint us a picture of what this map looks like? How does someone
right.
know they've entered this journey?
So the new book, The Awakenings to Your Magnificence, Your Journey into the Next New Frontier for Humanity, has a mysteries roadmap, as we call it. So what we realized, and what Metatron, the Archangel, shared with my wife Jane, that we want to open up to a full range of resources. What are those resources? And some of them we've been discussing. Connecting with your soul, part of the roadmap, connecting with archangels, connecting with the universal data field, the Hall of Records, that is the Akashic Record field, connecting with the field of pure potential, and also using oracles and tarot, special oracle and tarot cards, which can bring you synchronous gifts. So all of those is a mysteries roadmap, our mysteries roadmap, and we like to teach that in our spiritual guide program, and people live who like to go further with us too.
These are really, really good modalities, honestly. And it's even made me more curious about your book. And that's why I have my next question. You also reference teachings from ancient mystery schools. Can you share some timeless lessons that you've learned?
The mystery schools, which people probably have heard in ancient Greece and Pythagoras and some other famous people, but in ancient Egypt, prior to that, there were mystery schools, Atlantis too, and then in the Middle Ages, and they taught these universal life themes about life's mysteries, sacred geometry and birth and death, reincarnation, and the mysteries of the soul. So these were all done in unique ways that were contemporary to the times, and they were done for people to awaken to themselves, not to follow a leader or a guru. Yes, there are people who are teachers, like we teach this now in our spiritual guide certification program. So you would find a person that would help you become more of a master of yourself, not a follower of a guru. So there would be different practices. And one of the ones we like to do, and I think I will do one, is doing certain tarot or oracle readings, sometimes come under sort of the term divination. So these reveal synchronous messages for us in the moment. So they will either confirm deep punches you have about your life and where to go, or they will give you surprising, amazing patterns. I'll give you an example. And there was a lady who took our course, and she was feeling anxious about her husband having a 2-hour commute to work every day because she was worried. And so she chose a oracle card to help her understand why she was so anxious. I mean, overly anxious. It's one thing to be concerned. There's another thing to be very nervous about something too much, And she drew a card from the mystical shaman deck called water. Water means it's a beautiful image of water about purification. So she needed to do something about purging her emotions. And sometimes also you can just do an oracle reading, which will give you the answers and guidance you need. We like to use combinations, which can make it sometimes even more rewarding. And so she went to her Akashic Records, her universal database, had her greeter show her a past life experience where she was married to her husband then, and he was being deployed to World War II, where he ended up being killed. And she was devastated by this in this past life. And she knew she had a choice to deal with it and go on or not. And she chose not to. In other words, she committed suicide. So even though that's a tragic ending, coming back down, Evelyn came back down and back into the classroom and was integrating that experience in the purging of her emotions, all the fear and anxiety. She felt actually very calm. She had a sense of why she was so anxious. And one time he was going to have to go to military ROTC service, and she was a wreck and so forth. So when you understand why you're overreacting to things, sometimes that is all the healing you really need. Sometimes you do need additional. So that was an example of using that, a couple of the tools together, like a mystery school. That would be our way of going, what we call mystery school. So now she could empower herself. She's not going to follow us. She's not going to wait for us to read her records or read her cards. We're going to assist her. We're going to give her insights. We're going to help her have clarity just because of our presence. And there's something in the brain, like if you're around someone who is comforting to you or supportive of you, it opens up your brain and opens up their brain. There's a rapport, a limbic resonance in the back, the deep part of your brain. So when you're learning these things in a class, it makes it a lot easier. You can go a lot faster with your healing and spiritual development.
I love your answer, honestly, because it has so many layers to it. Like I said, wanting to know the teachings. The main thing is to teach people to go back to themselves, to turn to themselves, to not look for leaders, which is most likely why in the past, when you and Jane met in that group, you both were like, no, we can't follow a leader. We have to do something of our own. So it's kind of like you're teaching people to be self-empowered. And I also love the fact that you use oracles and tarot in your work. Can you tell me more about how you use it and what you like about it? How long have you been doing it? I
We've
know so
been
many
doing it
questions for that.
very intensively several years, where often in the morning we will do, my wife and I, our own readings just for guidance for the day. And it will give us an insight, something that will be, wow, this is an aha, this will be an in synchronicity, this will be a guidance, this will be a way of maybe giving a way of having an inspired day, a positive day, how to look at things, and often how to connect with nature as well. So there's many different oracle reading card spreads. Some of them can be very simple, some of them can be using them. They will just give you answers that are uncannily accurate in the moment.
So you also have mentioned working with angels and ascended masters. For those unsure or skeptical, how do you explain these beings and how do they show up in people's lives?
Right. So I think it's, for many of us, it is normal to be skeptical of things that you can't see, like how do you know this is maybe real, or how do you confirm this? So part of it is just trusting yourself and getting enough reliable answers, and the feeling state it gives you. So when I channel, I'll channel a master maybe to just conclude here in a minute. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel loving? Does it make you feel uplifted? Does it make sense? Some of it might be a little far out, and you're going to have to verify it, because you might be, my wife was connected in different past lifetimes to Joan of Arc and some well-known historical people, and many people may have aspects of Joan of Arc and Mary Magdalene and people like that. So they may be reincarnations. There's like a series of people in larger elements. So some of it might be pretty far out, and some of it might wait. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. That's an insight. Like, wow, that feels right. So part of it is feeling, and part of it is you can ask for other confirmations as well. And I remember just the other day I was getting a message from an angel, and I said, well, I just want an external confirmation of it. You know, I, and so I was driving up a mountainous path going upwards, and it was very cloudy when I asked for it. It was very kind of dark, hard to see. It was, even though it was daytime, dark. And so I said, I'm asking for a a confirmation that this archangel's message is real, even though I believed it and so forth. And so just about 30 seconds later, I kept going up the mountain. I was about at the summit of it, and then the sunlight came out. It was totally sunny. So it was almost like the sun just immediately shone on me. And you can ask for messages. You can also search the internet. I remember one time when I was channeling the wizard who had different incarnations of ascended masters, I asked him, how can I tell, this is true? And he says, well, I helped other well-known figures like William Blake, the poet painter. I go, okay, and so after that, I did the morning ritual where I connected with him in that case. I checked the internet, and William Blake, the famous poet, actually wrote poems and did pictures of Merlin. So that was quite a confirmation. So you can get confirmations from the internet or from things external, things in nature, signs, symbols.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. A couple of things that came to mind in terms of archangels. The reason why, when you were channeling Archangel Metatron, I could feel a warmth around us when you were channeling. So I definitely knew that his presence was around. I've always felt called to certain archangels, Metatron being the first one, and Archangel Sandalphon, who represents music, I believe. Archangel Michael, who is protective. Archangel Camille, who's about love, I believe. Just a couple of archangels have come up over some years when I was just like evolving and learning about teachings. So that's nice for me to hear from you, especially to tell me more about them and how you can just ask them for messages and they can show up. What is the most surprising or life shifting insight you've ever received from the Akashic Records?
Well, they're continually amazing insights as well, and they sometimes kind of come through other people too. One lady I helped, and this was sort of profound for me because you sort of go on the journey with them, and she was wondering if she needed to get a new relationship because her husband wasn't very spiritually minded, although he supported her. So she was wondering why she'd like a partner who was spiritually more connected with her. So she went to the Akashic Records, and this was the message that she got. She saw herself on a boat, like a Viking boat, alone. And the message was her husband wasn't there with her, but he was completely connected with her in spirit. So her message was there is no illusion. There is no separation. It's an illusion. So she felt completely connected with him, even though he wasn't, spiritually minded, and in her soul's planet, it made sense that he wasn't doing things like she was in terms of spiritual exploration. And I think that is a message. There are many messages. There is no one single message I can give you.
Yes, of course. I understand.
And I've already shared quite a few, but that message I think could be a good standout. Like there is no separation. That's an illusion. And when we went up to the mystical mountaintop, that is a feeling of that connection with everything.
Yes, I think that's a very profound message for sure. So, a couple of last questions. In Awakening to Your Magnificence, you describe important groups of three. What are these triads and how do they guide our evolution?
Well, one of them is the triad of your families. You have your physical family and your spiritual family. Now, they may be the same, and these are the spiritually supportive people in your life. They might be just people like you're listening to in this podcast. I might be part of your spiritual family, just someone you listen to or someone that you look up to, and people you relate to, and you can really be authentic and share heartfelt experiences and be authentic and vulnerable with, right? So that's your spiritual family. And then there's your family of light. The third one would be what we've been talking about, your archangels, your soul, your spiritual guide, beings on the other side that you can connect with, that you feel a relationship with.
Wonderful, wonderful. I guess you could also categorize them as different like soul groups in a
Right.
way.
Yeah. So there are different groups of souls that you're connected with as you go ascend up. It aggregates to more and more beings connected, and that's why I think a lot of people could be aspects of, say, Joan of Arc. We were talking about, like my wife and so forth, and well-known beings.
Yeah.
Because it spreads out.
Yes, I think I have aspects of Frida Kahlo. I've always said this. You know how Frida Kahlo always painted herself? When I do my work is about myself, self-portraits and all of that. I've always had
Yes.
that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you. So yeah. Okay, so what's one daily practice or question you believe can help someone awaken to their own magnificence?
Right. What I like to often ask myself as a morning ritual, as a spiritual practice, is what do I need to be aware of today? What's important for me today? Just a basic thing. And then I generally draw a card or several oracle cards. I'll just draw one right now from the major arcana just right before me. So if I were to do it. And this one is the Hanged Man, which is an upside down man, seeing things from a different perspective. So, and that I'm gonna amplify this to everyone listening. They can't see it, but imagine a person hanging from a tree, like upside down, like their feet are on the branch, say, of a tree, and they're looking upside down. And the point of this is surrendering. So, what would be important to maybe understand what I'm sharing today and what we're doing here is to surrender, to breathe, to see things from a different perspective, because some of the things I said might be a little different, and it's okay. You don't have to believe anything I say, and you may want to get a different
I
take on
definitely
it.
believe.
Yeah, just be open to it, but look at things from different perspectives because you're going to see more and be more. And that's why using the oracles and using the mysteries map tools I've been describing will help you, quote, think outside the box so you don't have the same repetitive, limited thinking. So if you imagine yourself today as that upside down hangman, where you get to see things from a completely different perspective and just surrendering. And when you surrender a lot of your conventions. You surrender a lot of your fears, a lot of the things you really don't need to just be more open and present to your more deeper soulful self, the self that can connect with the higher beings, the angels and masters, if you choose. They're all there to support us, and you do need to request it because we have free will.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for just sharing so many techniques with us. So it's been nice hearing you answer the questions, but also showcase things. It's so heartwarming. There's so many things that I've learned. My last question for you. What's one message your soul wants to leave with our listeners today? One final short thing. Beautiful. Thank you so much. This is where I'd like us to stop. It's been a
Well,
wonderful,
and I also want to offer a free gift to people.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So people may want to find out more of what I've been discussing here. And we have a free gift on our website. And I have a shortened URL because it'll be easy to remember audio wise. And that's tinyurl.com/pure potential. And we talked about that field of pure potential and healing. So we have
Mhm.
an EFT how to manual there. We have a report on energy healing there. And we have those videos where I'll demonstrating how to do the field of pure potential. So that free resource, Pure Potential Kit, is at tinyurl.com/pure potential.
Thank you. I'll definitely include it in the info box.
Great.
Yes. So you have a wonderful day, Philip. Thank you for sharing everything. Bye,
Great being
listeners.
great being with you, Viv.
Thank you. Bye.